Becker Mansion. That is the home of the Seneca Falls Historical Society. Our organization has been around since 1896, so we're celebrating 130 years this year.
Wow.
We have been in this home, the Becker Mansion, for 65 years, so exactly half of our existence this year. The home is named for the Becker family, obviously, Norman and Catherine Becker, and their 6 children moved here in 1891. And then various family members lived here over time until 1961. One of those 6 children was a daughter named Florence. She did not marry or have children. She lived in the home from the time she was 12 until she was about 82, 81, 82. She was moving to Waterloo, actually, with a niece who also lived in the home. Had put the home on the market, knew the Historical Society was looking for a new home, and she actually cut her asking price in half and sold the home to the Historical Society. Her father, Norman Becker, was the manager of what was called the National Exchange Bank of Seneca Falls. The room that we're in now was his library in the home, and upstairs in the second floor in his bedroom, we have a desk that belonged to him that we believe was in this room. I like to think of Norman Becker being a banker in what was a very industrial town for that time period in the late 19th century, having the wealth gained from that work to purchase not only this large home for his large family, but also being able to pay a staff of servants to help run the home. We've identified through our research 7 women who worked in the home at different points in time, and we'll point it out as we go along. Around the room, you see portraits of the 4 generations of the Gould family that ran what is now known as Gould's Pumps. There were 4 generations of the family who were president of the company until about the early 1960s, at which point the company essentially became a private company. Of course, throughout the room, we also see General Ulysses Grant, Stephen Douglas, Daniel Webster, and President Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, so this is good story about 130 years ago.
Yeah.
So the house is how many floors?
Well, actually, I'm going to get to that next.
Okay, let's go.
Yep. So as we begin moving through the home, I acknowledge that Seneca Falls is the ancestral homeland of the Cayuga Nation, one of the 6 nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, or Iroquois, as they're also commonly called. Haudenosaunee is what they call themselves. Iroquois is what the French call them. However, the first home in this property was built in 1823 by a gentleman named Willimus Minders. He's essentially a founding father figure for Seneca Falls. He came here in the 1790s, shortly after the American Revolution. He was part of a company that bought and sold land, developed the town, kind of created the community that we still see today. In 1855, his son, Edward, I'll point to the wooden frame behind you, had built this 2-story Italianate home, two stories with a cupola on top, built in 1855. Edward and his family lived here until 1880, at which point they sold this home to a woman named Ellen Partridge, who is an interesting character to me. Her husband, Leroy, had died 5 years before she bought the home. As far as I can tell, they had no children. As far as I've been able to find out, the only people who lived in the home were Ellen and her sister, Margaret. But over a period of 10 years that she owned the home, Ellen oversaw the renovation of the Italianate home into the 3-story Queen Anne style home. Why? Just because she could, I guess. And the upper photo you see is actually how the home originally looked. The front porch used to stretch all the way around the front of the home, and then there also was a small balcony on the second floor. There was a storm in the late 1940s, early 50s. They essentially knocked down a tree. The tree fell on the porches, and then they were demolished. And then the family that was here at the time only rebuilt the small front porch that we have today.
Okay, my name is Alex. I came from Macedonia, Europe. We got big history about Alexander the Great.
Just to stay on the runner as we come through the drawing room.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the drawing room, the first room that we're going to see on the tour. Drawing is short for withdrawing. The idea being that this is where the family would withdraw with their guests. We have the runner because this carpet, otherwise the carpet that you see, is original to the 1880s renovation period, as is pretty much everything you see in this room and much of the house. The drawing room is a great example of the home's originality to the 1880s renovation. The woodwork is all original. The wallpaper throughout the home, with the exception of the parlor, is original as well.
Everything is made at handmade.
Handmade, yeah.
Yes,
handmade,
amazing. What is your name?
Victoria.
Victoria. Nice to meet
The
you.
stained glass windows that you see in the room are also original. The fireplaces are original. The lighting fixtures were gas lights in the 1880s and then converted to electricity later on. The furniture that you see is a mix between mix of items that belong to the Becker family, such as this green sofa, and then items that have been donated to us from other families. I'll point out the portraits. So on the front wall here is Will and Miss Minders. The back wall is another one of his sons, Charles.
The sun is
Right there on the back wall. Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Who was playing piano on that time? You
Who
know?
was playing in the family? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good question. You know?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, sure. The couple that you see in the corner, this is Chauncey and Mary Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
Chauncey was a partner in the Marshall and Adams clock factory in Seneca Falls. The two clocks that you see on the mantles are Marshall Adams clocks. The young woman on the easel is Jane Clark. She has the interesting distinction of not only naming Restvale Cemetery, our main cemetery in Seneca Falls, but also being its first burial. Haven't quite figured that one out yet.
Okay.
And then the gentleman on the easel is Henry Van Rensselaer. He is part of the famous Van Rensselaer family of New York State, but he is also a son-in-law of Gary Sackett, who you're going to learn more about later on in the tour.
Okay. Let's go for another
Yeah, let's go.
place.
So where you came in the home is our main entrance for the museum. Is actually the back door of the home. This is the front door of the home. This is where guests of the Becker family would enter the home. And it's also, this would have opened up into the front
I
porch
love
originally.
those wall stickers and also the mirrors
Yeah.
is beautiful. The time, wow, it's amazing. It's historical, very expensive things.
Sure, yep. So we'll move into the parlor, and I like to say that where the drawing room is for entertaining guests, the parlor is for entertaining the family. This is kind of the family room, living room of the home, and thus we have photographs of the Becker family. This is Norman Becker, the patriarch of the family. He died in 1900, so he died less than 10 years after the family moved in. He's actually not buried too far from where you're from, because that's an interesting
Yes.
story. So he, in 1900, had taken his daughter. So he had a wife, Catherine, with a C. One of the daughters was Catherine with a K. He took his daughter, Catherine, on a tour of the Mediterranean Sea in parts of Europe. Along the way, he contracted smallpox. He died.
So
And because of the contagion, the best thing to do was to throw him overboard, bury him at sea.
Yeah.
And it said he's buried somewhere off the coast of Constantinople, is what I've read. So
okay. They use it before the stove like that for the winter time, right?
Yep. So the fireplaces would be for heating the home. Yeah.
That's cool. I saw you got another piano, probably of the family. Someone used those.
Oh, I'm certainly. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as we know, none of the pianos or organs actually belong to the Becker family. But certainly, I'm sure they had something, and someone in the family played music. Next, Norman, we have his wife, Catherine. She lived for another 25 years. I like to think of her as the real head of the household for the mansion. We're here on the cabinet. We have a photograph of the first four children. The first four were girls of the six children. The fifth was a son, the only son, and then the youngest was a daughter, Cora, and this is actually 6-year-old Cora sitting next to a tree in the front yard of the Becker mansion. We have no pictures of Norman, the son.
Yes. On that time, the pictures was made black and white, so
Yeah, of course.
it's fine.
Yep.
So I don't know how many years exist that the camera when they released the first camera to do black and white. Probably is that camera over there.
It could be, yeah. So kind of in the back of the parlor, we have a women's rights display. The desk in the corner belonged to Elizabeth Cady Stanton. She lived in Seneca Falls with her family from 1846 until 1862. The red rocking chair accompanying the desk belonged to Amelia Bloomer. She and her husband lived in Seneca Falls from 1841 until about 1855. And then on the cabinet we have a photograph of Susan B. Anthony, and that photograph actually was taken by this woman, Grace Woodworth, who owned this camera. Grace grew up in Seneca Falls. She had a photography studio in Rochester around the turn of the century, and that is when she took the portraits of Susan B. Anthony.
Okay, let's go for another place. It's a beautiful room.
Yep, so from the parlor we move into the dining room. This table and chairs did belong to the Becker family. And we have 9 of the chairs around the table to signify the 9 people that lived in the household when the family moved in here in 1891. It was Norman and Catherine. There are 6 children, and then Catherine's mother, Eliza Watkins.
Those, how many years exist?
How old are these? I am not certain. I would guess this around turn of the century.
Yeah, I love that. It's probably they came from China.
It's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is the dining room with 6 people.
Nine
people.
Yep.
Nine
Yep.
people. Okay.
And actually, the table has 2 more leaves. You can make it a little bit bigger. So
Okay.
certainly they would have had other guests.
They use a silverware over there.
No, actually, this silverware belonged to William Minders. Like I said, kind of a founding father for Seneca Falls. We have some silverware that's described with Minders on the handle. A traveling tea set that belonged to Willimus, a wine decanter set, and then a tray that's inscribed to Lilius Minders, and that is either Edward Minders' wife or his daughter. They both were named
Okay.
Lilius.
The pan, they made it for cooking.
Yep, and this is actually from the Revolutionary War. So this exhibit in the alcove, on the one hand, celebrates the American Revolution, with this year being the 250th anniversary of the founding of America.
They use the telescope. How many feet can you watch? How many miles telescope?
Oh, I'm not sure. Yeah.
So this is very old telescope.
Yep, and then these panels and this map depict what was called the Sullivan Expedition, and that was a military campaign against the Haudenosaunee that were in this area. They were supplying the British with food and other supplies, and the Continental Army decided they needed to retaliate and then push them out. Here we have a tea set that belonged to the White House, right on this top shelf.
It's a beautiful tea set, I must
Yeah,
say.
so President James Monroe purchased this tea set during his administration of the late 1810s, early 1820s.
They made it handmade over those.
Oh, I'm certain. Yeah.
Yeah.
This actually came. He bought it from France. In 1860s, Mary Lincoln, President Lincoln's wife, decided she wanted a new tea set. She gave this tea set to William Henry Seward. Who,
He was assassinated. Someone took it down here.
Yeah.
I remember that. So Abraham Lincoln has very good story behind.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yep. So Mary Lincoln gave the tea set to William Henry Seward. He was the Secretary of State for the Lincoln administration. Seward also lived in Auburn, which by car today is about 20 minutes away. Obviously a lot longer in his day. But William Henry Seward was friends with this gentleman, Gary Sackett, and he gave the tea set to Gary Sackett. And then in the 1980s, a descendant of Gary Sackett gave the tea set here to the Seneca Falls Historical Society.
Okay, let's go for another.
I'll point out opposite Gary Sackett is his wife, Harriet. And
It's over there.
Yeah, you're going to hear a little bit more about her later on in the tour. So just keep in mind.
Yeah, okay. Good. They use it about to fill up the gun.
Yep, so that's called powder horns. Yep, so you carry your gunpowder in that.
Cool. So I like those.
Next, we'll move into what's called the butler's pantry. This room has a variety of purposes. The first being, as you can see, to store all the dishes and silverware, things like that for serving the family. And the
It looks so nice.
yeah,
Organize it, you know.
on the cabinet here, I mentioned that we have 7 women who've worked in the home at different points in time. We have photographs of 2 of them, one being Sarah Irwin, She was a maid and nanny for the Becker family for just a couple of years in the 1910s. And then Mary Merrigan worked here from about the mid to late 1890s all the way until the early 1930s. So she was here for close to 40 years. She also lived here in the home. You'll see her bedroom on the third floor. We've found two gentlemen who worked on the home. I failed to mention that in the Becker family's time, this was an estate that stretched all the way back to State Street, the next parallel street. And the family had vegetables and fruit and rose bushes and trees. Bernard Roundtree was a gardener here in the 1910s and 1920s. And then we have a gentleman who's identified simply as Billy the Stableman, and we know nothing else about him.
Okay.
But my favorite part of the butler's pantry actually is this door, speaking of the servants. This is the door that servants would use to enter and exit the home. They would not have been allowed to use the front door or any of the main doors. So they had their own door, especially if they worked here in the home but lived elsewhere in the village. Actually, that was the case with
That's
Sarah
cool.
Irwin. Yep.
This is very old
This is
stuff.
the kitchen. Yeah, this is about 1880s coal-fired stove.
Wow.
Not original to the home, but very close to what the family had here
Look
in
at
their
this.
time. Yeah, many uses: cooking food, baking muffins. This is a popcorn popper. You put your kernels in it and roll them over the stove. Waffle iron for making heart-shaped waffles. Kettle for heating water for tea. You could heat your irons. You could dry your clothes and linens. Next to it is a copper water heater for heating a lot of water for bath time, things like that. Next to it is an ice box, again, not original to the home, but close to what the Becker family had.
Yeah.
Their ice box actually would have been located through this door. Through this door was a pantry, and then the doors on either side originally led out to the back porch, that is now our enclosed garage. And then from the porch into the pantry was a window, so the man delivering ice just passes a block of ice through the window and right into the ice box.
Okay, let's go for another